So which life would you prefer to have? A life that is full of distraction, reduced focus, constant worry about how others live or how they look at you, and an inability to enjoy life itself, or a life that is full of calmness, fulfillment, and purpose? Today we will try to figure out if we can actually choose a life without screens or moderate it, or perhaps this is an illusion of choice and none of us can escape this technology. I want you to think about how much time per day do you spend looking at a screen. I remember when I asked myself this and I realized that the majority of my day is spent either on my phone or my computer. Actually, my whole family, when they are not working, spend their time in front of the TV. It now came to a point when it's weird for me to not turn on my computer almost the first thing when I wake up. I recently installed this screen time app on my phone to just track how much time I spend on my phone, and in the last 7 days I spent 43 hours and 21 minutes. That is insane. Of course, this is not just me sitting around and scrolling Instagram. This is also my messaging, my work, listening to music, and so on. Still, this is an insane amount of time on my phone, and this is without adding my screen time on my computer as well. If I watch Netflix on my phone and want to go to the bathroom, I won't pause and take the phone with me. If I am cleaning my room, I can't seem to be silent anymore and have to turn on some music on my phone or a video just so there could be some background noise. I can't even go to sleep normally and watch something on my phone until I fall asleep. I believe many people struggle like this nowadays, and I believe this is a serious problem. We're so addicted to this technology that we're losing our ability to focus for longer amounts of time, we're losing our social skills, and ruining our brain chemistry. If you are like me, you fantasize daily about what it would be like to actually quit screens, or at least limit the amount of time spent on them, and is there even a way to healthfully spend time on screens? But if you never thought about your screen usage up until now, your first thought probably is, oh, this is easy, I can quit or limit whenever I want. In reality, social media, online entertainment, work, information, all of these things are so integrated within us that it seems like it's part of us that we just can't get rid of. I mean, most of us are stuck one way or another in this technology. Social media allows us to see how others are doing and communicate with them over any length of distance. Online entertainment and information helps us to get rid of that boredom that comes naturally with every human, and a lot of jobs are done with a computer now. In my life, the majority of my friends left my country to go abroad, and so I have no other way of communicating with them other than through social media. In my free time, I spend watching Netflix, as I said, or maybe watching YouTube, that online entertainment, and my work and my studies are primarily done with a computer, and of course it's also integrated with social media, as I have to communicate with let's say my boss, or I have to communicate with my study partners to do a project, and so on. And that doesn't include also doing the editing and writing and everything. Screens and technology are not always negative, and they brought me a lot of good, as I mentioned, with my work and the ability to communicate with my friends over a long distance. The problem is that when it's not necessary to use technology, I and many other people still use it. However, if not quitting it, then limiting it in a healthy way could and should be the answer to living a better life. And here are a few of suggestions on what to do. With all of that long introduction to the dangers of an unhealthy amount of screen time, I only wanted to make you conscious of the fact that this could be a problem. And that's the first step, to become conscious of the amount of time you spend on your screen and figuring out if that spent time is productive or not. If you are using technology to create something, work on a business, or do anything else that could help you or other people's lives, then you're actually using technology and not the other way around. If used for productivity, technology becomes a tool for improvement. Of course, this should be limited as well, but it's not as dangerous as consuming entertainment or scrolling through social media, as those things are fun and easy, which means they are way more addictive. Once you figure out how much and on what you spend your screen time, the next step is to either quit it or moderate it. I already mentioned how integral technology is to some people's lives, and for some people Their career is based on technology, so quitting that is not an option for them, but limiting is. The most important limit should be set on anything entertainment associated with technology. Online entertainment is the most dangerous part of screens, as it gives the brain an insane amount of a neurotransmitter responsible for motivation, dopamine and its rewards, which then motivates you to keep chasing that good feeling. In the end, when your dopamine receptors are so used to accepting huge amounts of dopamine, doing less stimulating activities like reading a book, going to nature, or just going to the bathroom without your phone becomes extremely hard. If you start to limit this online entertainment and or replace it with healthier and less stimulating alternatives, not instantly, but with time, your dopamine receptors will regulate themselves back to responding normally when a healthy amount of dopamine is released. In order for the brain to get used to being in its natural state again, it will require time and patience. But for starters, I decided to do a little experiment to not only think to myself, what would a day without screens be like, but to actually do one. My alarm clock went off at 7 a.m. as usual, but I decided to sleep in since I wasn't planning on doing anything in particular, and so I woke up at 10:36 a.m. Instantly, I felt so much calmer as I'm not waking up and checking my phone first thing in the morning. It's really nice, very quiet. And just went on with my morning routine, shower, brushing my teeth, and so on. Once it came time to have breakfast, that was the first bigger change that I experienced. I almost always eat my breakfast and actually every meal whilst watching something, whether it would be YouTube or a TV show. Since I couldn't do that, I had to just sit there in silence and eat. And it actually was really nice as I was more aware of the taste of the food that I was eating. And I was just in there in the moment without being distracted by anything. From about 11:15 a.m., I sat down to do one of the more engaging things that I could possibly do in this challenge, which is I read a book. I got a book just for this no screen challenge, and the book was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Here's where it gets interesting. In my regular life, I struggle to read even for 15 minutes a day, as my brain always knows that there are more stimulating things I could be doing. Since I couldn't do those stimulating things now, my options for engagement were very limited, and so reading a book was probably the most stimulating thing I could do. I read that book for about 1.5 hours, and that's the most I've read in a day and in a while. The most interesting thing was that it wasn't hard to do or boring. I just read and enjoyed it. From 12:37 to 1:32 p.m. to take a break from reading, I went off to the forest I live nearby. Going to nature is another thing that I haven't done in a while, and it was really nice and calming to just walk around in the forest, breathe that fresh air, and just enjoy the beauty of nature itself. After lunch from 1:40 to about 2:46 p.m., I started reading again. And again, it wasn't difficult to do and was actually quite enjoyable. At this time, I actually almost finished the entire book, which was crazy. To change it up a bit, from 2:46 to 4:31 p.m., I took out a board game and played a little bit. Even though I didn't play it a lot and the setup actually took more time than the game time, I kind of wanted to throw board games in here as just for you guys to know, as an alternative to video games, as board games don't require screens at all and they're actually a more slower activity, and it kind of develops your imagination. And also, if you have friends, just invite a few friends over to play board games with you and not online video games, and I think it's kind of a more socializing experience to do that. When about 4:40 p.m. rolled about, this is where technology would have been kind of useful, as I was getting ready to go to my jiu-jitsu training, and jiu-jitsu always happens at the same time pretty much, but on Facebook every single day the trainers kind of update whether the session will be or not, because sometimes it gets canceled. Well, most of the time it still goes as usual, but it would have been good to know if the sessions were actually on that day, but so I had to kind of risk it. Everything went well, and after my jiu-jitsu and picking up my little sister from her training at about 7:36 p.m., I came home, ate dinner, and started reading again. Oh, actually, there's another thing I want to mention. On my way to jiu-jitsu and back from it, when I was driving, I didn't listen to any music as I usually do. I use YouTube Music on my phone to kind of hype myself up before training and relax with it after it. But it was really calm to just drive without anything, without any background noise, and I think it was really good for me. So going back to reading, I read for another hour or so, and would you believe it? I actually finished the whole book. This is insane. Again, before this challenge, I struggled to read 15 pages per day, and now I read a whole book of about 100 pages in one day. I believe this was the biggest success that came from this challenge. Shortly after finishing reading at about 9 p.m., I went to bed because I just couldn't figure out what else to do. I usually go to sleep at around 10:30 to 11 p.m. and going to bed at 9 p.m. was really early for me and I couldn't fall asleep for a while, but I still think it was better than just falling asleep later whilst watching YouTube on my phone. Going to sleep and waking up without my phone was another great thing for me, as it just made my evenings and mornings calmer and slower. To conclude this more than a 24-hour experiment without screens, I think it was a success. Not only did I feel way calmer throughout the whole day, but as I mentioned, I finished a book. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine and he mentioned how in the past, when we didn't have this distracting technology, people used to read way more and be able to focus on less stimulating things, and I think he's right. However, I couldn't go like this every single day, as in the whole no screen day challenge, I couldn't work or study. Both my job and my studies require a computer with an internet connection. Still, I believe that for the future, I will stop using my phone before going to sleep and after waking up to kind of have more quality sleep and a calmer morning. I will also try to do this no screen day as a way to spend a whole day relaxing. If you remember, I attempted a 24-hour dopamine detox challenge in the past, and I don't think that it was a good experience. I was pretty much forced to stare at a wall for an entire day, and I believe this no screen challenge is a way more healthy and relaxing experience because it's kind of, you're not allowed to do any kind of very stimulating activities, but you're still allowed to do something, which I think is way better. This actually felt like I was taking a break and not suffering the whole day for a no clear goal. So I encourage you guys to give this challenge a try, and I'm certain that you will benefit a lot from it. If you do decide to do it, let me know in the comments down below, or if you don't want to do it, give your reasons why. If you've enjoyed this video and found it informative and useful, please leave a like and subscribe for more weekly self-improvement content. Remember, meaning is always above pleasure.